Well, Dun 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 Season 2 is here and I got to watch it. Well, actually what they did was they took the first 3 episodes of the upcoming season and bundled them together in a movie that is playing in theaters right now. This is something they did back with Season 1 called Dun 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 First Encounter, and so now the preview for Season 2 is Dun 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 Evil Eye. So yeah, I went on down to the theaters and saw it, so why not go ahead and discuss it here in the next segment of Midnight Yapping, I guess that's what I'll call it for now. So yes, for all intents and purposes, this is 3 episodes bundled together, and while you basically can spot where one episode transitions into the next, I'm not really going to discuss spoilers now, I'll go into it a bit later, but it does basically end on a cliffhanger, because obviously it would be continued in the next episode, but I did think it worked out. It began with some highlights of Season 1, giving you the basics of setting out the story, you know, just kind of a reminder, and the very beginning of it did use a good amount of the last episode of Season 1, which again was a big cliffhanger leading into the next arc, but I think that was really important to include here to set things up, because as we know at the end of last season, we were following Momo and Okarun as they went to Jin's place up in the hot springs to help him out with a ghost problem. While they didn't find anything at first, they split up as Momo went to the hot springs, and Okarun and Jin were able to bond a bit, but then started investigating the house. So now everything really just picks up as those stinky guys from the end of last season are revealed to be part of this family that's basically controlling the whole town. And oh yeah, by the way, we're talking about the plot now. So yeah, this really weird family apparently has been living a long time, the Ito family I think they were called, and they think that they're protecting the town by offering sacrifices to a giant serpent that will prevent the volcano from erupting. Very interesting, and I do like that while the groups are split up, they do kind of get to learn a little bit about this lore. And then after finding the Ito family, it turns out apparently that they were set up to be the next sacrifices for the serpent. And that leads into an entire thing when we actually do get to see the serpent underground, and it is actually a big worm, not necessarily a spirit or a yokai like they think it is, but it turns out that it is actually a UMA, a Mongolian sandworm I believe it was called. So it does actually end up being Okarun's area of expertise, even though, you know, it's giving him some trouble. And I really do like that there is a lot more balance between both of them. We did see it last season, but it really does make me appreciate the overall premise of the series. It's not all ghosts and spirits, it's weird monsters too, even though the weird ghosts and spirits do show up in this segment. I love the design of the sandworm. It's so weird and creepy, and it has a really terrifying power in it that it emits these psychic waves that make people want to kill themselves. And apparently at the same time, there's a spirit called Evil Eye that was getting blamed for doing the same thing, which is why he isn't affected by the sandworm and is able to save Momo and Okarun for the moment. But it turns out that Evil Eye was manipulating him and tricking him, even though he does have a really sad backstory that he shows to Jin. I guess it does turn out he was sinister all along, and so that ends up being kind of the final boss. They're able to kill the sandworm, and so then it becomes a big fight between Okarun and his powers and a possessed Jin and Evil Eye's powers. So yeah, we're basically just collecting a bunch of teenagers with these weird little abilities, and so I'm definitely thinking that they'll be able to control Evil Eye later on, and I do like his appearance. I think it's a really creepy design at first when he's just hanging around, and then when he fuses with Jin, it actually looks really cool. And obviously the animation for the entire thing is just top-notch as usual. I love Sai and Saru and just how they've really been able to flex even more so having this full series that's getting 2 seasons, and with the popularity and reception, I am really looking forward to what else we could see from them in this series. So it all makes for a great action sequence and a great fight. Okarun does defeat Evil Eye, and Momo also helps to take care of the sandworm, and then the big cliffhanger ending is that the Ito family is still alive after apparently maybe getting eaten by the worm and getting vomited up. But unfortunately they're sort of justified, or at least they think they're right, because the whole thing ends with the volcano actually erupting. And so that will be followed up in episode 4 once it picks up later this year, in the summer. So yeah, a really strong start, and I think it kind of was a really interesting thing to end it off on that big cliffhanger of season 1 of like, hey, look, this is building up a whole lot, there are a bunch of pieces, our heroes are in danger. But at the same time, I think it is the perfect way to start the next season, because we do get introduced to new characters or new villains, right? There's a really big threat in the worm and Evil Eye, which also does introduce things. You know, I haven't read ahead in the manga, but I really am just assuming that this is gonna be Jin's powered up form and he's gonna help out along with them and Ira back home. Maybe, I could be wrong, but just the way that the series is structured with all of these guys getting their powers, you know, it would make sense. And I do really think it was deserving of being on the big screen. So the actual experience was really fun as well, and you know, having an audience there was really cool because everyone was just laughing at everything that Turbo Granny said because, you know, funniest character. I do think it is playing for the next week or so, so if you're able to head down to the theaters and watch it, let me know what you think in the comments below. And let me know if you're excited for season 2 to come out later. I don't know if I'll make Dun 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 the next thing that I'll be discussing every week or so in the shorts, but maybe it will be. If that is something that you would like to see, let me know as well. Anyway, thanks for hanging out to this broadcast of Midnight Yappin', and I'll catch you in the next one.